All right.
Okay, let's get started. The first video is called A Scary Vacation Story 3 Animated.
Oh man.
During my holiday,
Have you had any creepy like stories when you went on vacation?
When I went on vacation, I mean, shoot, I remember once when I was like younger, me and my family went out to this like camp and we found this old like abandoned this it was like a whole summer camp, like they had cabins and everything, and it wasn't marked on the map. It was never there, or like it was never like recorded on anything, but it was there and it was creepy. Like we went there at nighttime. Oh
That's
my gosh.
creepy.
Yeah,
Pretty
dude.
creepy.
spent about 3 weeks in Japan. I arrived pretty late, so I couldn't check into the hotel that I initially booked, so I booked the cheapest hotel that I could find nearby. Aesthetically, it was quite nice, but it did have easy access to the building, meaning anyone could come in and go to any room as they please. Plus, there was no security in sight.
Well,
After arriving in my room, I
Bro.
ordered some food and
No
watched some
security's crazy.
TV. I was still pretty jet-lagged from the flight, so I started to get ready for bed. As I was falling asleep, I felt the urge to double-check the door just to see if it was locked. I didn't think anything was going to happen, but I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Exactly.
About 5 minutes after I
That's
checked
so
the
real.
door, I heard footsteps outside. Initially, I thought it was someone leaving their room, but the footsteps started to pick up speed. The sounds started getting louder and louder, and I started to freak out a little. All of a sudden, the sound stopped. I looked at the light shining through the bottom of my door,
Oh
and there
no.
was a shadow
Oh
of a
hell
person.
no.
At first, I thought it was room service, but it was too late for that. Or maybe it was some drunk idiot who was at the wrong room. As soon as I switched my light on, the shadow disappeared. I was confused, but I reluctantly went back to bed. That's when I suddenly heard scratching coming from my door, so I immediately
Oh
turned my light
hell
on
no.
and
That's
shouted.
creepy.
Who's there?
See, me, I would have called the cops.
After a moment of silence, I heard the footsteps slowly fade away. At this point, I was thinking it could be some kids messing around, so I got up, opened the door, and peeked my head outside. I glanced in both directions down the dark and slim hallways. That's when my heart stopped. A man emerged from the darkness and ran erratically towards me. His face was contorted as he screamed, and I could see he was holding a knife in his
Oh
right
hell
hand.
no.
As he
Yo,
got
close
closer,
the
I
door,
could
bro.
see
Get
him more
inside.
clearly. He had disgusting long, dirty hair. His clothes were ripped, and he had cuts and bruises all
Ooh,
over.
bro, where is
I
this
quickly
man?
slammed my
What would you do if that shit happened to you?
Hell no. I'm closing the door, pulling up the blicky, bro. I'm ready. I am
door
ready.
and pressed against it,
Exactly.
praying
Someone-
that the
probably
man
someone
would just
gets
go
me.
away. After what felt like hours, I finally gathered my courage and looked through the peephole. He was gone.
There's no one there.
I let out a sigh of relief and checked the peephole again. My heart started pumping faster than ever before. He was right in front of the door.
Oh,
He was
hell
wearing a
no.
Yo.
maniacal smile on
Bro's
his face,
mogging him.
and
Oh,
all of a
no.
sudden he raised his knife and yelled,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
I jumped
Damn.
back and
Oh,
kept my
damn.
eyes locked on the bottom of the door as I backed up to my bed. I grabbed my phone and started dialing the police. As I raised the phone to my ear, I saw that the shadow was gone. When the police arrived, I tried to explain what happened, and they checked the security cameras. They almost immediately
He was
recognized the
schizophrenic.
man. He had been doing this to people for a while now, and the police had been trying to track him down for months. After a long night of no
Oh,
sleep,
damn.
I finally arrived at the right hotel that I had booked initially in Tokyo. That creepy
So he's
guy
not
was still on
schizophrenic.
my mind,
I don't
but I
think-
thought the
think he's a
chances
killer.
of him being here were pretty slim, so I didn't bother locking my door that night. At 12:05,
Why would your dumbass not? Why would you not lock
Oh
the door?
no.
He's an
Okay,
idiot.
that's-
I thought he was like that, but nah.
Bro is not like that.
Bro lost all his aura.
Bro's got negative aura.
I woke up to a big bang next to me. I turned around to see the same guy passed out on the floor with a knife in hand.
What happened to
I was
bro?
in shock. How did he find me? I quickly ran out of the room and locked him inside. The cops came and he was finally arrested. Let's just say I'm always going to be locking my doors from now on.
You should have been that shit from the start.
You should have been, yeah, you should have been locking all your doors
See,
every
I
time,
can't go
bro.
to sleep until all my locks are gone. Or like they're
For real.
locked.
Yeah,
We hear
nah, if
hovering
you're
over that
traveling, bro,
button,
lock
but
your
we need your
doors.
help. We have a better button, we promise. Right up.
Okay, the next story is called Our Neighbor Postman Turned into a...
I lived in Astoria in Ravenswood houses in the 90s. I was friends with the mailman, who was a really cool guy. His name was Rich.
Looks like a cool
What
guy.
happened after New Year's was crazy, and for months I saw this man deteriorate into a killer. Rich was an all-around cool guy. He was a good-looking, charismatic mailman who delivered mail around our neighborhood. His baby's mom lived in my projects in Ravenswood houses. He would say hi to everyone, and on Christmas, no matter how poor people were, they often left him a tip in cash. Rich had a dark side to him that involved a fight where he beat his baby's mom and got a restraining order.
Oh no!
He broke her orbital bone during an argument.
I was gonna joke about
During
it, but I
that
didn't think it
year-
was real.
His girlfriend would often walk around with 2 black eyes or a swollen cheek. He was beating her.
Damn, bro. Somebody.
He did not show up for 2 weeks because of some
Bro, someone end this man, dog. This dude should not be around on the streets beating his wife.
departmental procedure, suspending him till they found out what the case was about. I saw him 2 weeks later and Rich was less cheery. The new year brought him a child support garnishment for his kid and legal problems, not to mention problems regarding custody. A few months passed,
Child
and
support
I had
always makes
noticed
men
him staring
suicidal.
into the distance of the hot sun. He did not look good. His long stares would be longer and longer, and it would take his name being called 3 times for him to respond. Everyone around the area
Oh my
heard
God.
he had broken a court order and
What
beat
is
his
that
girlfriend
face? He is
again.
evil, bro.
Rich was not the cheery, charismatic man we had once known, but something darker. One day, coming out from work, I see a Telemundo truck with Eyewitness News Channel 7 and a New York 1 news van. Rich killed his wife and 7-year-old and 13-year-old stepson. Both heads were chopped off. The kids' penis
Oh my
was
God.
found in their mouths. Both heads were in
Damn,
the
bro.
closet. They lived 2 buildings down from me, and my friend was their neighbor. Cops sealed off the building. Rich tried to slit his wrist, but failed and was taken by an ambulance. After detectives left the crime scene 2 weeks later, and everything was concluded, we snuck through my neighbor's yard, who lived next door to the crime scene. All the action took place in the kitchen. There were trails of blood from the living
my
room
God.
leading into the bedroom, like the
Damn,
bodies
dude.
had been dragged. The bedroom had a broken door, but we didn't go inside. This was before crime scene cleanup came. I had nightmares for weeks. There was a boy who lived in my building who was 7, who was friends with Rich's kid. He became completely traumatized after he heard about his friend's death. His mother encouraged me to
Damn,
talk
dude.
to him, since he looked up to me as a big brother. I remember he asked me, "Why do people hurt kids?" I could only say, "Because they are sick in their heads." He sobbed in front of me, and I, of course, comforted him. From that point on, I had trouble sleeping
I
for
was
a while.
sweating.
Damn,
Going
my
in the
boy's
actual
sweating that
murder
blood.
scene made things much worse. I will always remember a blank stare when I joked around with him. It was like he was staring through me.
Ooh.
Nah, bro was tripping.
That's creepy as hell.
I know. This is Tom the neighbor.
Oh,
Crazy
dude.
person.
It's got
Next
that
to my
creepy music. You
house,
already know it's probably
there
scary.
lived a strange man named Tom. Tom never looked people in the eyes. He always stared at their stomachs. So, I have never once made eye contact.
He looked like a cannibal.
What is this?
He looked like a cannibal.
Oh no. Why is his
Him.
mouth bigger than his head?
Whenever Tom saw me, he always repeated the same phrase. It was, "I want a hug." He loved hugging anything.
Oh. This
He
would
would
be like
often be
original.
seen
Where my
hugging
hug
trees or
at?
poles when passing by. Once, I saw
Ugh.
him getting slapped when he asked a stranger for a hug.
Damn.
It seemed like he had an intense obsession with hugging. One day, while passing by his house, I happened to see through the open front door dozens of mannequins lined up.
Oh my
I was
god.
shocked, but I pretended
Oh,
not to
this dude is
notice and
crazy.
greeted Tom. Tom smiled brightly and still stared at my stomach, arms outstretched. After that day, Tom started to give me
Would you let
chills.
this man give you a hug?
One day, he met me in front of my
Hell
house
no.
and said to me,
I'ma beat
"I
his
want to
ass
be
if he tries
hugged
to
for
hug me."
100 hours, but no one will hug me." Suddenly, he asked me to hug him and came towards me with his arms out.
Boy, you better put out the blicky.
He does not get a
You're not
choice.
hugging me today.
You are getting hugged, bro. You did not get a choice.
I hugged him, feeling uncomfortable. He held on to me for a long time without letting go.
Oh,
I told him to stop hugging me, but he didn't release. Instead, he started squeezing me tightly.
Bro's the
Pushed him away
molester.
angrily, but he didn't even flinch. He shouted, "I love hugging. Don't let go. Never." It was the first time I heard him speak so
Ooh.
loudly, and his breathing became heavy, his heart beating rapidly. I used all of my strength to pull away from him and punched him in the face. Then he ran away to his house. I followed him to his house, still
disgusting.
angry. Looking through his window, I saw something eerie. Tom was hugging each of the mannequins one by one. Then he kicked one of the mannequins and shouted, "It's not warm enough." A few days later, in the middle of the night,
Oh,
I
no.
heard a knock on the door. It was Tom, holding handcuffs.
no.
My heart sank and I held my breath.
Handcuffs. Yo, this dude's a freak.
He is hell.
This dude's a freak.
He stood there for over an hour, repeating the same gesture of hugging the air. I called the police, and after a warning, they sent him home. After that day, Tom disappeared and never came out of his house for over a month. I went to his house, but there was no response. And despite several more weeks passing, Tom was nowhere to be seen. Eventually, I went to his house, and an overwhelming stench emanated from it. I eventually called the police, and they found Tom's body buried under dozens of mannequins. Among them, there was one mannequin that looked almost human, with a wig and painted eyes and mouth.
Oh no, what
Tom was
is
lying
this?
down with the mannequin in his arms, and both of Tom's hands that were holding the mannequin were handcuffed. The cause of death was cardiac arrest.
What the hell?
What the hell is wrong with this man? Okay, next
Dude is
one.
crazy.
Mad. I know.
You are so lucky to be seeing this. Honkai Star Rail is giving away 80 free pulls when you tap on the screen.
You're not lucky to be seeing this.
Nah. Why you should never open the door to strangers?
I was only 9 at the time, and we had just moved to a better location. Our apartment.
Have you ever opened a door to a stranger before?
No, I'm not. No.
I think I did. My mom got super pissed at me.
Yeah, no, I've never opened my door for the for a stranger.
Was on the 6th floor and was the last one on the landing.
Yeah, fuck no.
It was
You're
the
stranger
furthest you
danger.
could go from the
Stranger
entrance of the
danger.
building and was fairly secluded. The staircase was also completely indoors with 4 apartments to a floor. One day, I came home from school around 2 p.m. My parents weren't due back for at least another 3 hours, and I set about doing my usual homework, watching TV, and emptying out the fridge. It was around the time that I settled down for an episode of Babylon 5 that I heard the front doorbell ring. This was very odd, as my parents both had their keys, and no one else usually visited around this time of day. I went over to the front door and asked, "Who is it?" I heard a man answer back, "Hello there, I am from the electrical company. We are doing a routine check on the electrical meters. May I come in and inspect yours?"
Hell no. You ain't coming in
Electrical
for
meters,
nothing.
bro. What?
That is the most stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life.
No, there ain't no electrical meters out here, bro.
It will only take a minute. I looked through the peephole and saw a young man, probably nearing his 30s, very clean, neatly dressed, with his hair combed to the side. He held a clipboard in his hand with some papers attached. I was about to twist open the lock when something caught my eye. Because of the fisheye view I had on the landing, I could also see a little extra to the sides, on my left and the man's right. I saw a light bouncing from what looked like a sharp metal object.
Oh, hell no. Bro's about to
As
get
soon as you open
jumped.
that door, right, as soon as you open the door, bah, right in the head.
Pow! Yeah, no, he's about to get jumped
It
and
took me a
robbed.
second, but I clearly saw what it was. It was the cutting edge of an axe. Someone was standing right next to the door, attempting to hide from view, holding an axe in their hands. At this point, my memory gets blurry. I remember stepping away from the door and creeping into my room, which was the furthest in the hallway. I closed my door and didn't come back out until my parents got back. The bell kept ringing for a few more minutes, and then it finally fell silent. I never told anyone about it, until now. So these were my
Yo,
stories,
that's creepy as
and I
hell.
think there's always something important to learn from encounters like this.
No.
Man, that's stupid.
Well, somebody seemed to fall for it, so damn.
Right. Because they're stupid. I almost got killed by a serial killer.
About 10 to 12 years ago.
Man, that ain't no girl. That's a grown ass man.
I know, man.
I was a drug addict living in Cleveland, Ohio. I usually spent my days smoking, drinking, and I was usually up to no good. I would go with whoever had the drugs, basically. One day, my friend and I were talking with this guy, and he said he had some dope on him.
Man, I don't trust this guy one bit.
What is it, because he's black?
No.
Nah, I'm kidding,
I'll
I'm kidding.
mix myself.
And he invited us to his house. It wasn't the first time I've seen him invite women over to his house to smoke and do other drugs. He seemed nice, but invite women over to his house to smoke and do other drugs.
Why you just stalking
He
him
seemed
like that?
nice,
That's
but
even creepier
I
than
didn't
that.
feel comfortable going with him, but I was. Then I saw another friend across the street, so I went over there to her. After that, I went home, and my friend went with him. The next day, his house was surrounded by police and news cameras.
Oh, damn.
I didn't know why, but my friend ended up telling me that when they were in his house, this guy, Anthony, punched her in the back of her head and started to choke her. Then she woke up in a bed. She said next to the bed, she saw a woman's body with no head attached. But she decided not to scream because he was asleep right next to her. She ended up crawling and getting out of the house. Literally running out of the house, barely clothed. And ended up calling the police. Eventually, they found 11 bodies of 11 different women in and around his house.
Hell?
Who would have known that man was a serial killer? His name was Anthony Sowell. I'm so glad that my old friend caught my attention right before I was going to his house. Who knows? I could have been one of those bodies.
Oh my, oh my.
Oh shit!
What the?
The next one is my teacher got fired and now she's trying.
My name is
What the-
Karen, and this happened when I was 14 years old. I had the best teacher ever who was also really kind. She let us do whatever. Best teacher ever who was also really kind.
Dude, that's a
That is not a
creepy
kind- that
ass
is a
smile, bro.
psychotic- A psychotic smile. of
She
that.
let us do
For
whatever
real.
we wanted and didn't care about us at all. I know that it wasn't appropriate for her students. However, because we were young kids, everyone liked her except for one person. He was what we called a nerd. He was smart, but he was a big snitch and really annoying. He always said we all needed to study and not goof around.
Shut the fuck up.
Bro, spitting. That's crazy. Got spit flying out of his
Swirly.
mouth.
We need to get this man a swirly. Put him in a locker.
But everyone ignored him. We heard that our teacher had been fired. There were rumors going around about her. One was that she was fired because the nerd had snitched on her and told his parents.
Wow.
They all complained to the principal.
Where she got replaced
Soon
by
the
the
nerd
guy
was
from
bullied a
OxyClean.
lot because of it.
Not
And
OxyClean,
he
Mr.
finally
Clean.
ended up leaving the school and moving to another one. When he packed his stuff and left the classroom on his last day, I saw him crying and staring at us with a bruised eye. It gave me goosebumps. About 2 years later,
Man about to become the school shooter.
Oh, hell no.
Nah,
on a
my
rainy
bad.
day, we had to stay inside the classroom. We were just talking, playing, and doing other stuff as usual. When the class was about to start, our teacher told us all to use the bathroom beforehand. So while some of us were walking to the bathroom, we saw that the teacher who had been fired walked into the school. She was calm.
Oh,
As we
damn.
walked past her, she suddenly looked at us, stopped us, and said, "Wait, I know you. You guys were in my class, right?" She was smiling at us, but somehow
Oh, hell no.
Whoa, what the hell?
she looked very tired,
Ugh.
and I felt a bit weird. We
Right,
replied,
you better run.
Yes, ma'am." At that very moment, we saw a gang of boys following her, and I could see that they were holding knives with some blood on it. We then
Whoa.
started screaming, but all the classrooms were far away from the bathroom, so nobody could hear our desperate screams. Then we turned around and told the teacher and the gang to please go away and spare us. Our teacher glared at us for a
what?
while and slowly started smiling. "Don't worry, you are next." As soon as she told us this, someone abruptly pulled out a knife and they all started grabbing us. The next thing I knew, we were dragged onto some kind of big van. My friends and I were crying and terrified.
Oh my
I knew
God.
something bad was going to happen. However, at that
Really?
moment, when they pulled us into a van, we suddenly heard a loud siren. Fortunately, one of the teachers saw when they entered the school and stabbed some of the students. He immediately called the police. After they were arrested, all the students had to go home early and the school closed for a week. It turned out that the gang was hired by former surgeons who were fired for removing people's organs and killing them. Furthermore,
What?
our psychopath teacher had been working with them, and she was a murderer who would have murdered parents and raped their kids.
Oh my.
Why?
Did she say rape their
Oh my
kids?
God. Why would you? Why? I get the murdering the parents, but why would you rape the kids?
A few months after, the whole gang was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
The fuck? 10 years? Motherfucker, give them life. The death penalty.
For real. Give them life.
She finally received a death sentence. However, that was not all.
Oh,
To our
yeah.
surprise, the police also found out that the nerd had been helping the teacher with murder for a
Wait,
long
what?
time.
What? Oh, see, I told you, he gonna be the school shooter.
That's okay.
I
that's
don't know why
actually
he did
crazy.
that. But anyway,
It's always the
he will be charged with helping her with murder when he turns 18.
Oh shit. Okay. What the hell?
Yo. What is that?
Okay, the last story is called True Creepy Stalker.
When I was around 14 years old, I always went on the internet, and I had this app called Discord. After a while of having Discord, I
Not
met a boy
Discord.
named Luke.
Discord is becoming the new dark web. I'm here to say it.
Discord's about to be the next Telegram.
We
If you
started
know, you know.
talking for a while, and one day he asked me what I looked like. Without thinking, I sent him a picture of me. He told me that I was beautiful and that he loved my long dark hair and how I did my eyeliner. I just said thanks, thinking nothing of it. Around a week later, he told me that he loved me. And
That is too fast, my boy.
This is a grown-ass man.
Right.
And I felt the same way about him.
You love a grown man?
I don't know if she knew. You never know. You never know.
We had so much in common. Luke was very good looking too. He had a different style from normal people.
Why is he wearing a mask? That seems suspicious.
He could be Japanese. He could be Japanese. They wear masks.
Okay.
He wore a mask and always wore the color black. A while later, I realized it started becoming too much for me. He would always ask me personal questions like where I lived, and I told him I lived in California. He also lived in California and said he wanted to run away and meet me.
Why? He's a psychopath.
He said that our relationship was going to get real. We kept talking every day, and he got...
What real means he's gonna kidnap you and do stuff, put you in the basement, chain you up.
He's gonna put you on the dark web. Put you in a red room. You know.
overprotective and would text me every few minutes. One day, I was home alone because my parents were on a trip to celebrate their 20th anniversary. I didn't mind until it became nighttime. It was so dark outside, and it gave me the chills. I decided to close all the windows and make sure that the doors were locked. I sat in my living room and watched some TV. After around 20 minutes, I heard a knocking sound coming from the window behind me. I realized I didn't pull the blinds over it and that some kids were probably playing tricks on me. I got up and went to the window. As I got closer, my heart kept beating faster and faster. I looked out the window and no one was there. So I just closed it with the blinds and sat back down. After that, I got a message from Luke. He said, "Let's meet up now." I told him I was busy and that I couldn't, but he said that I wasn't and that he could see me. I felt so afraid and told him to stop scaring me because I was home alone, which I really shouldn't have told him. I asked him how he knew where I lived, and he told me that he looked on Snapchat and found my exact location, so
It's always Snapchat.
What the hell?
It's always Snapchat.
Bro, it's not Sigma.
he could meet up with me whenever he wanted. I was so afraid. I heard a knock on the door, and a teen boy's voice tell me to open the door. It sounded so attractive, and I knew that it...
Sounds so
Oh
attractive.
no!
Girl, shut
Oh
the fuck
no!
up. It sounded so attractive.
That's actually crazy.
It had to be Luke. I stayed still and didn't know what to do. I was home alone, and no one could defend me when I'm alone. I texted him and told him to leave me alone now. Luke knocked again and said he wasn't going to leave. I finally got up and opened the door.
No!
Why would you open the door?
It's like the last thing you should do.
There he was, standing there, ever so tall. He smiled and bit his lip and invited himself in. I told him several times to leave, but he didn't listen. Then he went quiet, and I tapped his back. He ripped his mask off to reveal all the scars he had around his lips. I froze in
I knew there was a weird reason why he had a mask on.
Fair.
shock and told him to please leave now. I was so angry, I didn't even care. Then he smiled creepily and ran downstairs to the kitchen, and I ran after him. He was holding a knife and then ran after me. I ran outside, hid in the bushes, and called 911 as fast as I could.
Should have done that shit from the start.
Honestly, yeah.
The police arrived quickly.
Buddy,
They
he
found
sounded
him.
so attractive.
But what was even
That's
more
why she didn't
creepy
call him.
was that he smirked at me when they took him into their
So
car.
attractive.
I called my parents shortly after and told them everything, and they came home. I never want to stay home alone again. It creeps me out. I deleted Discord and blocked him before I did. Having an internet boyfriend will haunt me forever, and I will never forget the creepy smirk he gave me.
Nah. Well, guys, that was me and Aiden reacting
Okay.
to horror stories. Nah, thanks for watching this with me, Aiden.
Yeah, of course, man. It was a great time.
If you guys want to see more information, hit that notification button and it's